Anyway, I was born in the throes of World War II, just after Dunkirk. So my family was always interested in popular songs. In fact, I had no classical music at all in my family. My father played very nice piano. He loved to play Alice Blue Gown on the piano, played beautiful piano. My grandfather loved popular songs. He taught me a lot. My mother taught me a lot of British music hall songs, like I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside, stuff like that. So my grandfather was, and my uncle, my grandfather's sister, married a songwriter called Stanley Damerel, who wrote Lady of Spain and Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing, and lots of songs, including one called I've Never Wronged an Onion, So Why Should It Make Me Cry? So we had songs in our blood. I grew up on popular songs. Anyway, in the 1940s, I was lucky, late 40s, when I was growing up, to hear a sort of break in popular music when old-time sounds came back, and lots of honky-tonk. I first heard the word rag in a song that came out, recorded in 1947, called 12th Street Rag, by Pee Wee Hunt and his band. It was the first time I heard the word rag, which was a magical word for me. I didn't know who U.J. Berman was, who wrote the song. He was actually a great ragtime composer from Texas. Anyway, 12th Street Rag is a real genuine rag from, I think, about 1917. And it was rediscovered by Pee Wee Hunt. So the first record I bought was 12th Street Rag, which we're going to hear now. This is Pee Wee Hunt and his band, but I love it because there's a wonderful piano solo in there by, I can't remember his name now. Max, do you remember who was playing the piano on 12th Street Rag? Marvin something or other. Anyway, the clarinet is by a friend of mine called Rosie McHard. So anyway, this was the first rag I ever heard, and it introduced me to ragtime piano. So here we have Pee Wee Hunt and his band with 12th Street Rag.
12th Street Rag coming up.
Technical things. That's Rosie McHard playing. In fact, Rosie came to this festival. Here's the great piano coming up. That's great, isn't it? It was a wonderful piano, wasn't it? That's what really inspired me to play the piano. We had a piano, as I told you, in our flat in London, Putney Heath, London, near Wimbledon. And I used to bang on that piano. I've got that piano now in our apartment in Altadena. And my father would watch me play and say, I wish I could master syncopation. My father could never play in rhythm, but he played beautiful piano. Anyway, so that inspired me to buy more records of this kind of music. To continue, I loved, by the late 40s, I was buying many more records that had ragtime or honky-tonk piano. Here's an extract from a song which has lovely piano in the background. It's a British recording by a group called Five Smith Brothers, who are on radio. I like the raggy piano behind it. So here is I'm in Favour of Friendship, just a bit of it.
I'm in favor of friendship.
They were five brothers from Newcastle.
A friendship is a fortune that you never can spend. You never know how much it means till you need a friend. So I'm in favor of friendship all over the world. I'm in favor of friendship all over the world.
I love that piano.
Around the globe I'd like to see friendship. I want to be friends with the world. I met a girl in Paris and we sat on a bench.
She said we and now you see I'm friends with your French.
So
Okay, fade out. Sorry, fade out. I love the Five Smith brothers. They were on the BBC radio and they were always introduced as Mr. and Mrs. Smith's five little boys. I don't know who that was playing the piano, one of the many British pianists of that time. That's what we call it ragtime piano. I guess it's not really ragtime, but it's wonderful. It's a prepared piano. So I love that.
I'm going to flip ahead to our second slide.
Okay, these are some of the people who played that sort of piano. Winifred Atwell on the left from Bermuda. Russ Conway, who played great piano, and Mrs. Mills, who played lovely piano too. So I love this style, and I was banging away on the piano, but I never really learned. I had piano teachers, but I never really learned to play the piano properly. I remember being at school in the 50s and having a woman piano teacher, and she stopped me in the middle of an etude and said, "Don't tap your feet, that's what common or dance band players do." So she told me never to play, never to tap your feet. She's completely wrong, because of course rhythm is the basis of all music. But so that put me off. In fact, if you can believe this is true, at my school in the 50s, my boarding school, jazz was actually banned for a while because it was bad for the boys. So we were not allowed to buy it. I used to have to clandestinely is the word, clandestinely go into a room and quietly crush notes of the piano and play blues, because jazz was illegal, which made it even more exciting. Am I speaking too fast?
No.
I'm getting rather excited about all this. So there I was at Bryanston School in Blandford, Dorset, in the heart of Thomas Hardy country, loving this music, popular music, and not really liking classical much. We had some wonderful musicians, boys in my class, who went on to become big names. There was actually Simon Standage, who became a top violinist, and John Eliot Gardner, who's now Sir John Eliot Gardner. He was a contemporary of mine. So I had at school, I had skiffle groups. If you know what skiffle is, it's just strumming guitars and playing old American folk songs. So I had the first school skiffle group. And then in 1959, I had the first school rock and roll band where I sang songs by Elvis Presley. I love rock and roll, by the way. When it first came in, I bought Bill Haley's first LP, Rock Around the Clock. I loved it. At the same time, by the way, I bought an LP of the original Dixieland Jazz Band. So you see, I loved jazz at the same time as rock and roll. I thought they were very similar because they both had this great American energy. I thought America was a country of great energy. Tremendously excited. I wanted to get to America. I wanted to have blue jeans. Have a crew cut.
And you did. Let's take a look.
Have a crew cut and be American. What's that? That's me at Trinity College, Dublin. That's me. This is later. This is about 1961. There's a telegram underneath about my rock and roll success. That's the front square of Trinity College, Dublin, behind. I didn't have the skill to go to Oxford or Cambridge, so I went to Trinity College, Dublin, which I loved.
And it was at Trinity College that Ian made his first rock and roll records that became huge hits.
Yes, I did. I had my first rock and roll band at Trinity College, Dublin. It was called Bluesville. It was an Irish, in fact, it was the first Irish band to ever get on the American charts. We got to number 8 in the top 10 in 1965, which was the record we made. That's me.
Those are publicity pictures taken for Tower Records of Ian.
Tower was part of Capitol Records.
Part of Capitol Records, right. And here are the original sheet music covers to Ian's 3 biggest rock and roll hits.
See, they're published by the Edward Marks.
Edward B. Marks published the second 2 pieces, which was one of the original old Tin Pan Alley companies. And tomorrow, at the wonderful suggestion of Max Morath, we are doing a whole concert of nothing but music published by E.B. Marks.
All except my songs.
Well, it's all ragtime, and not rock and roll. But I thought it was very important to include a little bit about Ian's rock and roll career, because that is also how he had a very successful ragtime career.
That picture on the Sporting Life is my rooms in Trinity College, Dublin, with a piano that I rented. I used to
And
write.
it looks like there's sheet music on the walls. It looks like Oh by Jingo or something
It
like
might
that.
be, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, about this
Yeah.
time, I started writing rags. This is actually I'm going back a few years before this, to 1959. I'd read a book, a wonderful book by Rudy Blesch and Harriet Janis about ragtime. And I loved this book, I learned every page of it. I remember there was a wonderful picture in it of a German playing the piano. Och Himmel, the carpets, the rhythm got to go bigger than my G. Anyway, it was, I loved. They all played ragtime, and it turned me on to Scott Joplin. So I had to find out who Scott Joplin was. Fortunately, in England, in London, there were record stores that sold all kinds of records, including LPs of Scott Joplin. It wasn't hard to get. In England, it was not hard to get records of blues, rhythm and blues, and ragtime. So I bought some Scott Joplin, and I learnt Maple Leaf Rag. It took me a long time to learn it, because it was in a very funny key for me. Hard on my hands, E flat to A flat. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
That music says recorded by Mickey Finn. Is that the ragtime piano player, Fred Finn?
No, that was an English band that actually stole my arrangement. I had to sue them.
Really? Well, I just found that 45 record of Mickey Finn playing Sporting Life on eBay for over $200.
Oh dear, well, it's a copy of mine.
Okay.
It's that jacket there on the right-hand side. That's a leather jacket that I bought in London. I was so proud of it. I was so proud of that jacket. I thought it was wonderful. So now what's next? That's the folio. That's my first folio, Edward Marks Company, of my songs. And that's me on the cover of my first
rock and
record.
roll songs. I have the sheet music for the end as well. Ian, were some of those others published as independent songs like Poor But Honest?
No.
River of No Return? Okay, I just wondered.
They weren't. But anyway, it was a nice booklet. All right, now I get some more music.
Let's see what's next.
well,
Well, a little bit more about Ian's rock and roll career.
This is an amazing show that I appeared in 1965 in Hollywood, at the Hollywood Bowl. It's an amazing cast. The
Beach Boys, Sam
the Shadow Pharaohs, the Kinks, Dino, Desi and Billy,
Ian Whitcomb.
the Birds, the Douglas Quintet, and the Righteous Brothers. So I played the Hollywood Bowl twice, actually. And
What was the second time?
my record, You Turn Me On, is actually a very simple blues number.
Yeah.
Some of you may have heard it. Have you ever heard You Turn Me On?
Yes.
Who's heard You Turn Me On? It's still played a lot. It's still played a lot. It was recorded by Mae West and me as well. Now,
We'll talk about Mae West in a minute.
Listen,
First,
Rag-
here are Ian's LPs that he made for Tower Records. There were just the four, right?
Yes, well, the first one is on the left. You Turn Me On. The second one was Modern Musical, where I actually put some rags on there, including Junkman rag.
You were one of the first people to
I
record
also
classic
recorded-
rags
I recorded
on a
reindeer
major
rag.
record level.
Yes, I was the first person actually to record rags on a major label on Capitol Records. So I recorded a reindeer
And
rag.
Why don't you talk about Robinson Crusoe and who inspired you to do that?
All right, then we'll get to you playing piano.
Yeah,
Okay.
shortly. We're
All
going
right,
to do
in
Robinson Crusoe
1963, I was in Seattle playing at a coffee bar there, student coffee bar, and I went to a record store and I saw a record of ragtime played by Max Morath. I bought this record. I learned every single track. Max was playing live, and one of the songs you played was "Where Did Robinson Crusoe Go?" with Friday on Saturday Night. I learned that and played it in my act. And later in 1966, I was recording at Capitol. At the end of the session, this is the way hits are made. We had 5 minutes left, so he said we'd do Robinson Crusoe. So I had a small band. I had a guy called James Burton playing guitar, who played with Elvis Presley, a great sax player called Jim Horn, a great drummer from New Orleans called Mickey Conway, me on the piano, and then overdubbed on ukulele. So this came out in 1966,
and this is a full-page ad about the record
In
from
Billboard.
Billboard magazine.
It got into the charts. It was top 10 on the West Coast.
And the sheet music was even published with
There it
his
is.
picture on it.
They took Al Jolson's face off. on the original, it's Al Jolson in blackface. So here am
And
I.
so now, I'm going to briefly leave my presentation and show you a film of Ian singing the song
on a show called Shindig.
on Shindig, 1966.
was his only friend. They didn't borrow or lend. They built a little hut, lived there till Friday, but Saturday night it was shut. And where did Robinson Crusoe go with Friday on Saturday night? Every Saturday night they were starting to roam. Then on Sunday morning they come staggering home. On this island live wild men, cannibal friends, and where there are wild men, there must be wild women. So where did Robinson Crusoe go with Friday on Saturday night? Tweety-boo,
Tweety-boo.
and where there are wild men, there must be wild women. So where did Robinson Crusoe go with Friday on Saturday night? Oh, that's the story. With Friday on Saturday night, reach your own conclusion. With Friday on
Thank you, Max, my mentor, for having me. I'm sorry to have stolen that from you, but still, it was anybody's song.
Look what's next, Ian.
Well, here I am with another. Actually, in 1964 in Seattle, I was in a hotel. I heard this ragtime being played, and I looked around. It was a man called Ragtime Bob Darch playing piano. And he was a wonderful man. He took me under his wing, and he took me out to meet a wonderful old black songwriter called Joe Jordan.
Just wait a minute.
I mean,
Here it
Bob was
is.
a wonderful character.
Ian and the ragtime composer Joe Jordan at his home in Tacoma, Washington. Was that 1966?
Now, this was about 1964.
Oh, that early, okay. This was taken on like a little Polaroid picture or something like that. Did they have Polaroids in those days?
I think
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay, and the picture was all torn up, absolutely torn to pieces, and I sent it to a photo restoration company. Look how good it looks.
I tore it up because Bob Darch had a penchant for young women, and he tried to steal my girlfriend off me. He took her into a bedroom, and she came out screaming. He was a wonderful man, Darch. He was a great character, Bob. I saw him play in Colorado once, and I counted. He drank 13 gin and tonics, and then literally fell off the piano stool. So Bob was a tremendous influence on me. Max was a more sober influence. But Bob was a great character, and I learned many of his songs. And in 1966, in Los Angeles, I appeared at a club called the Troubadour and sang these songs on stage. And among the people who saw me was David Hockney, the painter, and Christopher Isherwood, the great writer.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
A couple of these clippings are from Ian's scrapbooks. He actually has someone photograph all of his scrapbooks. And I feel very lucky to have the copies. What year did you move to the U.S., Ian?
I didn't really, I kept coming back here over and over again on a work permit, and eventually by mid-70s I got a green card. I came here legally, by the way. I got a green card. In 1979 I bought a house in Altadena, California, which I'm still in now. In 1989 I married Regina.
She's in here too. Here's the Don Bacardi drawings.
He was very flattering to me. Remember Isherwood saying, "That's very sexy," he said.
Here, talk a little bit about getting Mae West to record with you, and even some ragtime.
Mae West recorded my big rock and roll song, "You Turn Me On," and "Nervous." And then in the late 60s, we made this record on the right-hand side, Great Balls of Fire, for MGM Records. And she sang, I picked all the songs for her, including Light My Fire. She sang Light My Fire with the Doors. At the end, there's a siren, and she says, I play a fireman, and I come up and say, where's the fire? She says, in your eyes, big boy, in your eyes. I love working with her. She was a real star, and I really enjoyed working with her. She used to make me lunch every day.
Ian produced both of these records. And let's see what's next. Unfortunately, we only have 45 minutes for this
okay, let me just say
seminar, so it's probably not
let me say one thing about Mae West.
Oh, of course.
you know, back in 1911, she was on for the vaudeville stage and she sang The Grizzly Bear. She was one of the first to sing that. She used to sit on a chair and do special actions which got in control. She used to pat her upper body. And that's a very historic thing. It's a black thing called patting juba. It's an old dance. She used to pat various parts of her anatomy. And so I got her to record it. She actually recorded Grizzly Bear on that record. She said to me, I hope all the band are black. I have to have black players with me. She was the one, by the way, when she was at Paramount Pictures, she insisted on having the Duke Ellington band accompany her. And the Paramount said, no, you can't, they're all black. She said, I won't make the film if you don't have. So actually in Bell the 90s, she'll see the real Duke Ellington band playing behind her. She was a wonderful woman. I really loved her. All right, so now, going back to 1959, I started writing, or I couldn't write any music. I made it up as I was going along. I made up a rag called Luscious Slices, inspired by, I suppose, by Scott Joplin. I think it is inspired by him. And I played that. Remember, my father loved that. So I made that rag up. And in 1965, for my first Tower LP, I recorded it. I think the recording was actually made in Dublin, but now we're going to get Adam's going to play Luscious Slices, my first rag. Thank you. You've been very kind. You're very, very, very kind to old people.
Some of us are old people.
Hang on a second. My grandfather used to go to the cinema, and he sat at the cinema on his own once, and a woman of the night, a lady who came and sat next to him and handed him a card. It said, very, very understanding with old people. Luscious Slices.
You'll have to forgive me for using the music. I haven't played it in a while. Hey, we have Steinways this year. Yeah.
try to play like that. I never could play it like that. But I wrote every note of that.
I think I might as well just stay up here.
Stay up there.
What's next?
And just say, one more thing about that music that was up on the screen, by the way, that was transcribed by the man who transcribed all the Beatles songs. He sat next to me and he said, you're a lot harder than those buggers were. I sat next to him and played every note to him and he took them all down. Anyway, that was the Beatles transcriber. So anyway, going on now to 1965. So I was 19 when I wrote Luscious Slices. Glad my father heard it. And in 1965, 66, I wrote this rag called Sandcastle, which I drew that, by the way. And I used to be an artist. But that's called Sandcastle, A Day by the Sea, very much inspired by the British seaside, which I loved. This is also inspired by Joseph Lamb, whose rags I loved. So Adam's going to play Sandcastle, A Day by the Sea, which I recorded, by the way. And I should just give it a plug. All these rags are on this CD, which is on sale. A 2-CD set called Songs Without Words. All my instrumentals are on here. On the record, this is played by a band in Hollywood. But this is played by Adam, who will play it in his own impeccable way.
I've got the CDs at the end of the lecture.
All yours.
Here it goes.
Sandcastle. Castle, sorry. Castle. I must have I must say my rags sound quite good, really. I've actually always been strong on melody. I taught myself to play. I taught myself harmony as well.
I think Ian's original compositions are vastly underrated. In fact, they're quite avant-garde in many ways. I'm going to play another one in just a minute that really is. Now, in the early 1970s, Ian worked in Nashville for Warner Brothers Records, writing old-time country music, and had a minor hit with one of them.
Hands.
Hands.
Hands was a song about a massage parlor girl. I can play it to you, but I can't. With his hands, I should be holding him.
We have about 10 minutes, Ian, so I'm going to have to keep...
Okay, keep going.
We haven't timed this in any way.
All right, so I should just say, in 1966, I went to a birthday party in the San Fernando Valley for Dick Zimmerman. I didn't know him at that time. I came in and I saw this extraordinary sight of this fellow with long hair at the time, bent over a piano, and banging a piano. He was playing a song called Bric-a-Brac Rag by Maurice Porcelain, which involved him banging his fingers on the top of the piano. And I'd never heard such playing. I thought it was wonderful, so we immediately became friends.
And they toured all over the world. How many times did you appear on The Tonight Show?
About 5 times. Dick appeared once with me. You can see it all on YouTube.
We would play some more videos for you, but we don't quite have time. Now here's something else interesting, is that Ian befriended many of the old-time songwriters and interviewed them. There's Ian with Eubie Blake, and you can tell them a little bit about
I interviewed Eubie Blake for NPR in about 1969. I went up with a chap called Neil Conan. We went to Eubie Blake's home in Bedford-Stuyvesant. I remember I came in the door and he heard me speak. He said, "You're an Englishman." He said, "You come from the country of Leslie Stewart." Leslie Stewart was a wonderful English composer who wrote the solos of the Queen and Florodora, Lily of Laguna. He loved Leslie Stewart. Here's a man associated with ragtime and jazz who actually loved British light music.
And Ian also interviewed Shelton Brooks, songwriters like Irving Caesar, Harry Warren, and some of these were done on film, and I uploaded them to YouTube. You can watch them a few years ago.
Shelton Brooks. Do we have time for another song or not?
I want to play both the other instrumentals before we finish here. And as I was saying, Ian did a lot of research and interviews, so he's written many books over the years. Here are some of them. Yeah, After the Ball was
those books are still in print.
Most important one, I'm sure. Let's see what's next. Maybe it's Marzipan. Yes, here we go.
I should say that this was transcribed by a wonderful man from Santa Barbara called Robin Frost, who was a wonderful pianist and arranger. So he took it out again. I had to sit at his side and play it, and he took it all down.
Wow.
I'm like Irving Berlin in that sense. I can actually read music now. It's a bit too late now. So here we have...
What year did you write this, Ian?
What's it called?
Marzipan.
About 1974. It's very odd.
Marzipan, a Ragtime Confection by Ian Whitcomb. This one is very avant-garde.
This is very atonal.
I hope I can play it.
Yes, you sure can do. we have time for one more.
Greetings of Old L.A.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have time for one more number. There's Jeff Barnhart, who I've known for many years. Here's one that I wrote. I used to write tangos because I used to attend dance festivals at Cincinnati. This was a tango I wrote by request by a man called Richard Powers. It's called Dreams of Old L.A. This is recorded, by the way, and it's on the same LP, this CD. And on the CD, the orchestra is conducted by a wonderful composer called David Raksin, who wrote Laura. And so here it is as an instrumental played by Adam, and Adam has recorded this as well.
That's true.
Plug your CD.
Yes, that's at the end of the slideshow. I put our CDs on there, but you can go to the store, check them out. You don't have to see pictures. And that will have to conclude our presentation.
This is going to conclude. This is going to be... As my mother would say, Andy, do shut up. And next up is Jeff Barnhart and his lovely wife.
Stick around for Ivory to Go.